Edit audio.
Hello, everyone. I'm Robin Hopkins, and this is Well Adjusting, where I talk to people about life stuff, but not in an NPR way. It's more like we're at the bar, having cocktails, getting into your business sort of way.
It's giving drunk NPR.
Oh, and producer Steph is here too.
Hello.
Today we chat, well, getting your shit together for the unthinkable, part 2. Welcome back, folks, to this series that's all about preparing for the worst, death. Boy, I said that so chipper, didn't I? But seriously, don't panic, okay? This is Well Adjusting, so sure, we're talking about death, but we're talking about it in a gentle way, kind of like you're drinking cocktails, as we do. And if you are drinking cocktails as you listen, hey, that's totally fine, as long as you're taking notes and you haven't had too many cocktails. So last week, you heard from Jorge, who started this whole series. He was wondering how to prepare for his parents as they hit that stage of life. And we were all, well, first you got to communicate with your family members, but then you got to get your shit together and get moving. I mean, we said more than that, so, just go back and listen if you missed it. But during that chat, I was reminded of this amazing lady I had seen on the Today Show or someplace named Chanel Reynolds. She started this organization called Get Your Shit Together after her husband died suddenly and unexpectedly. Now, I reached out to her and I said, hey, would you please come share your wisdom? And lucky for us, she said yes, and a 3-part series was born. So today we're talking to Chanel about the spreadsheet side of preparing yourself for end of times. And yes, end of times is weird, but I don't want to keep saying death, 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 death. Oh, and before we get to that interview, Chanel suggested that we talk to Byron from Scrivener about the financial side of things, probates, wills, trusts. So today we bring you Chanel, and next week Byron. Buckle up, folks, because we're going to make preparing for death a spreadsheet, but also fun. Is it possible? No, we can do it. I believe we can. Let's get started. Here's part 1 of our chat with Chanel. Well, hello, Chanel. Welcome. We're so excited you're here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to finally get a chance to talk to you.
I feel a little bit like I'm meeting like a rock star because I've been talking about you for like a decade, like that get your shit together lady. I'm like, she's great.
Well, first of all, I am a huge fan of your show. So thank you for inviting me. And the conversations you talk about are so important. Like anytime you can make like bestie kitchen table conversations out into the world, it's super important. So thank you. Yes, I am or was a decade ago the country's most famous widow for a minute.
That feels like a t-shirt.
Oh, man.
I feel like we should start there just because, and folks should know, I mean, we're laughing about this, but this is a serious conversation we're about to have. But what I love about you is the way that you look at this stuff. So I'm just let you talk about it because I think it'll be better said coming from you.
Oh, well, thank you. So yes, Laughter is a universal language, and it kind of keeps us sane during our darkest times, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I started a website called Get Your Shit Together over a dozen years ago because I found myself standing in the ER and the ICU. My late husband had about 5,000 tubes and beeps and machines and having some phone numbers with me, but I didn't have other phone numbers. And then I didn't have like an insurance card. And so all of this swell of questions and a lot of oh fuck moments, made me realize, oh my God, I need to get my shit together, is because I had some of our stuff organized, right? The like, do you have your affairs in order? Which always sounds like a land baron and a silly thing to say. But the 5-second things or the 5-minute things or even a few hour things like finishing our wills or figuring out, if we had enough life insurance or not, those were the things that just had me smacking my hand on my forehead over and over and over again for the first 24 hours and then the week in the hospital until all of the tests told everyone the same thing, that my husband his injuries were far too severe and his injuries were unrecoverable. So It was a long week falling down a endless rabbit hole and realizing that while the conversations we had were not perfect, but we had some of them, like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be a vegetable, not super instructive, but you can understand
Yeah.
the general gist of it. You're like, well, what if that kind of vegetable?
Yeah.
So after a week in the hospital, I removed medical, at that point, intervention, because he had gone far beyond any ability to recover or quality of life, and realized that I was now a 39-year-old, recently widowed, solo parent of a 5-year-old. And my late husband had a daughter. And so, we had a blended family. And I, had to go home and figure out how to tell a 5-year-old that his dad had just died.
Yeah.
And then I had to figure out how the hell I was going to survive that, right? And what kind of life raft did I have, and figure out, what the hell I was going to do for the next year, what could I afford, and where our money was, and what kind of insurance we had. So it was a literal, absolutely devastating, terrifying, oh my God, I need to get my shit together, because it's all on me now. And I didn't have his father's phone number
Oh my
yesterday,
God,
and now I have
Jesus.
to figure out what kind of insurance we have. I also had information to about half the stuff, right? But
Yeah.
the half I didn't was really terrifying. Really,
Yeah.
really terrifying to not know where everything was.
Yeah.
So I realized that we suck at dying in this country,
We
and
really are not
that
good at it.
we're not
We are
good.
not.
And while the suffering part of losing someone can never change, there's a lot of optional suffering that surrounds it, that I went on a now decades-long quest to try to remove as much of that optional suffering as possible. Because when things are hard, you would hope everything would get softer, and it is almost always the opposite.
Yeah. Didn't you say that you went home, put up this website, and then the Times called you the next day?
It was otherworldly, yeah. I mean, I had that moment in the hospital when I said, I need to get my shit together. And it was words that came out of my mouth that I could never pull back in, and they haunted me. And from the moments, where people were dropping off casseroles, right? Like, I grew up in the
Yeah.
Midwest. I live in Seattle now, but it's
Yeah.
casserole central. Keep the lasagnas rolling, everyone, please. It was life-saving. People would hand me the casserole and say, oh my God, how are you doing? Are you okay? We don't have our wills done either. Or, oh my God, I don't know what would happen if something else happened. At the funeral and the memorial, not only were people showing up to show up and support us, but they were also equally terrified. And it dawned on me
Yeah.
that not only did I not have my shit together, largely nobody does. And there's got to be a way to fix that. So I didn't get the website up for a year or two after he died, because the first year was really just trying to make it through the first
Triage,
year,
right?
and get my kid to school on time, wear pants, find a grocery store. It was really pretty lowest of Maslow's hierarchy of
In that
needs.
order.
It was,
Please wear pants.
yeah, and pants, yeah. So it was about a little after 2 years, and I launched the website, which was basically, here's what happened, here's what I learned, and here's what you can do to make a hard time a little bit better. And I was able to buy the getyourshittogether.org URL. The URL for getyourshittogether.com was owned by a porn site, and they wanted $10,000.
And you were like, listen, I just barely got my
What?
pants on.
This is a pants positive day I would like for you. Yeah, so I launched the website. It was a very small 10-page, the original version website,
I
which
had
was
the original. It was like a Word perfect doc or something like that. I
it
had that
was.
original.
I love that. Yeah, it was a 10-page WordPress website. And I
Yes.
took my, I think it was like an Excel spreadsheet and some Word templates. And I was like, here's a list of stuff you should do. Here's my will in case you want to know what one looks like. It's like reading the blueprint to a high rise almost. The language is so inaccessible. And here's some stuff you should do. 2 families contribute time or money or energy to keep a household together. You should probably have a plan for what happens if something happens. And I did. I launched the website early January. It was, I think, the Monday that my son went back into school. It was loaded with a bunch of adorable, I'll call it adorable and charming typos. And I launched it. and put out a little Facebook thing that said, hey, I'm hoping that this helps some people. It quickly spread. And then the next morning, I woke up to the New York Times calling me on the phone at 6 a.m. Seattle time. I'm like, who calls me at 6 a.m., right? I didn't even answer. I was like, no, don't answer. And then it was Ron Lieber from the New York Times who wrote the
Wow.
Your Money column, who also, had younger kids. And one thing he said to me was, talking about money and finance and personal finance is so personal, but it's really challenging sometimes to put the person in personal finance. And here I am, this recently widowed person saying, here's the stuff you got to do so you and your family can keep your shit together as well as possible if or when life goes sideways. So, yeah. And then that weekend, I was on the cover of the business page in the New York Times after launching a crappy little website on Monday. So it was a bit
With
of
cute
a
typos.
whirlwind. Yeah, with the charming typos. And I was so pleased and so honored that my story was relatable, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's not that
Beyond that.
anybody knew me, right? But I could be their sister or their daughter
Yeah.
or their
Yeah.
mother. And so it wasn't just my story. It was terrifying and reassuring to also know that everybody is equally terrified of what would happen if something happens. And we could probably do a better job at getting some basic shit done
Yeah.
to help ourselves and help each other.
Obviously, hey friend, I'm just jumping in here to say that we've got a new way to get in touch with us. If you want to leave us some feedback, hopefully good, or suggest an episode topic or ask a question, all you have to do is go to sayhi.chat/welladjusting. The link's in the show notes, but I'll say it one more time. sayhi.chat/welladjusting. You could leave us a voice memo and we might just use it on air. And if you happen to be enjoying this episode, why not go ahead and subscribe to the podcast or rate and review us? You won't regret it, folks. Obviously, this came out of our episode with Jorge where he was talking about his parents, and we were like, we have to get more information out there, just in language to people who speak like we do. And you just talked about the people showing up with the lasagna and they're like, oh my God, I'm scared too. But what's so unbelievable about all of us is then we just go about our day. Then we're like, yep, I should probably do that. And then I'm like, I'm going to go take the dog for a walk. If I had a dog, I don't have a dog. But, we just go about our days and something about us blocks it. And I'm just wondering, what do you think? Like, what do you do when people are facing these emotional blocks?
Well, it helps to know, first of all, that we're all in the same boat, right? Like, we're not raised talking about death and dying, right? We don't have, like a home ec class in middle school where you're learning how to write your will and manage your passwords necessarily. So there's
I did learn how to make like a denim jumper, but this is actually important.
This is important. Yeah. And we're just realizing, like personal financial literacy was a thing that left a lot of people behind. So I think just knowing that we're all mortal and we will die and we have to figure this out. And that estate planning, again, even though it sounds like something, like land barons do, everybody who's 18 needs to have some basic stuff together. And estate planning documents, the legal documents part of it, it can be far more simple than people realize. There's a few basic foundational documents like a will and a living will, which is also your advance care directive, power of attorney, and often, but not always, a trust. Like these are just kind of like the gateway documents to talking about getting your stuff together. And you can do them with an online template for a few $100s, which will save thousands of dollars of time and stress and money later. For those people who have more assets that they want some specifics or guardrails around, meeting with an attorney, we can think of it as having your own personal trainer or project manager. They'll call you and send you the documents and say, hey, you need to finish these. And so, doing some of these basic things the same way that we would kind of organize it into our lives, right? Like you can write down or update a password in 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be this day-long, slog summit where you are spending your whole day, which a lot of people don't have getting organized. It can be like a Get Your Shit Together book club with your friends. It can be 5 minutes on
Ooh.
Wednesdays. It can be an annual thing you do, or 5 minutes at a time to remove as much of the doubt and questions and where the hell's that one thing that happens when shit goes sideways.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that with Jorge because I do think it can feel really overwhelming. And, I think the thing that the three of us all have in common is we're spreadsheet gals and we're not afraid to say it. So like for me, I'm like, okay, the next 6 months or whatever, I'm going to take this and I'm going to break it down into meaningful chunks. But like for the person who's overwhelmed, like I just don't know how they get themselves there. Is it just being like, it's small things, just set up one thing?
I think it's small things. There's a couple different ways. If you have a partner or a spouse or a best friend or an ally or a sibling you can partner up with and hold each other accountable, that can be a great way to keep the momentum going. I think 5 minutes at a time is helpful. Or, one way I think about it is I'll run exercises because I'm a spreadsheet nerd, right? I'm like the ADHD type person who will spend 8 hours organizing a spreadsheet and color coding it, and then I'll never use it. But I'll feel like I accomplished something. So I have to trick myself a little bit. I will schedule meetings with myself and block off time. I will put things in my schedule. I will find an accountability buddy. I will call or ask for insurance quotes, but I'll just call on the weekend or when I know the office is closed. So they're it and they get the message and then they have to call me. So anything I can do to put it on like automatic. So it's an important thing I have to do, but it's worked into the process of my life can be helpful. It also gets easier once you get started, right? Like you put your butt in a chair for 5 minutes, set a timer, and just say, okay, I'm going to spend 5 minutes on this. And then after the timer goes off and you're like, I release you, you're free to go. But 9 out of 10 times I'll stay and finish something.
Yeah.
The other thing I like to do is run exercises, like if your brain orients to newness, pretend the alien ships are coming down, but you have an hour, not 5 minutes to like run around and grab underwear and a can of soup and a fire. You've got 1 hour to gather the important things. And it's an interesting exercise to see what would you want, what would you need, and what are those important things. If you have a compact, urgent hour, but the house isn't going to explode. And those are the things that can help you individually, because each person and each family is different. Prioritize, okay, if the shit goes down or things go sideways, or I get the phone call from my mom or a parent or a friend, where's my credit card? Where's my money? Does somebody else have access to some money? Where's my ID? What insurance do I or they have? Where are my prescriptions? What are my parents' prescriptions? And who are their doctors? Like, that's a good hour. And so that already can help you figure out what's going to be important to you if and when something happens. Because driving to the hospital, realizing I didn't have phone numbers, digging through bins and bins of organized files, which was mostly piles of envelopes that were nearly the majority of, bank statements and like essentially recycling, right? With a rubber band around it that said to be filed in a tub, sorting through stuff to try to figure out what's important. You want to remove as much of those big questions. So if and when something happens, you have the phone list of the people that you really want to call. You have your mom's next door neighbor's phone number, and there's a house key outside so somebody can check on her. Just some of that basic stuff. And so I try to get away from the shoulds of estate planning, because there's nothing like shame to make me run in the other direction really quickly.
It's true. It's true. It's not motivating.
No. Oh, I should do this? Great. I will now never call you back or speak to you again. Sorry, I have a kitchen tile to regrout. Super urgent. But if it's I was a single solo parent to a minor child for a lot of years. So my emergency plan was heavily oriented to having at least 2 or 3 people at any moment. Let's say there's an earthquake in Seattle and the bridges are down. that somebody could go pick him up and he would be okay. And there was backup plans for that. So for me, that was my most important, getting my shit together. And now
Yeah.
that he's 21, I just want him to text me back. But
Yeah.
I have a different set of requirements for now adult children and
Yeah.
aging parents. Like Jorge had been talking about. When
Yeah.
it comes to aging parents, we need to have our shit together so we can help them get their shit together. And going up to your parent and shaking your finger at them saying, if something happens to you, I got to fly across the country and go through all of your stuff. You should do this. That might work for some parents, but often it can be, hey, I would really love to advocate for you. I would really love to be able to step in and assist in a way that's meaningful and important to you. And if you tell me what you want, then I can make sure you get that. So when my father was managing an illness, it took a number of conversations to talk about his advanced care directive. What kind of hospice care? Would he want to be at home? Would he prioritize good days over quantity of days? And,
Yeah.
for a lovely, wise, sensitive, calm, reasonable man, we needed to practice that conversation a couple of times before he really wanted to engage.
Would he just shut down? Was he just like, I don't want to talk about it, or maybe, and then just never give you an answer? Or
I believe, and I could be wrong, but I felt like he didn't want to be a burden or a bother. I think the conversation was hard, especially if we don't have practice talking about these kinds of things,
Yeah.
which most of us don't. And I think that it was uncomfortable for him to talk about it with his children, because no matter how old you are as a parent, you're still parenting, right? Like,
Yeah.
my son doesn't want me to call him Schmoopy and hug him in front of his friends, right? Weird, but still. And I'm like,
Can you believe
but
the
I'm
nerve of
always your
that
mom.
kid?
I know, whatever. But, we had the conversation a few times, and I think the softer I got and the more it was like, well, here's the new copy of my thing. Thank you so much for having a copy of this. I feel better. Is there anything that's really important to you that, we don't have to look at the document right now, but like, if there was one thing I would know, what would that be? And having a DNR and a DNI, do not resuscitate, do not intubate, that was the conversation starter he'd been waiting for. So that was the entry point.
Oh,
He
I
didn't
didn't even
want to
know
talk
there was a DNI. I only thought there was a DNR. I
I
didn't
didn't
know.
either until somebody told me. I was like, okay. So
You're
there
like, I
was
need one of those. So put that in my
yeah,
holiday email.
yeah, definitely. More paperwork coming. But, maybe the big conversation is too big to start with, right? So maybe I found, accidentally, luckily, one conversation that he wanted to have. And it was a piece of the conversation. It was a front door or like a step to the larger conversation. And I was really, really grateful that that was a place we could start. And then I
Yeah.
knew something really specific that he didn't want. And that made me really feel much, much better.
Yeah. Gosh, you said so many things. I think I thought it was going to be like, one must do this, one must do that, one must do. It didn't even occur to me about how customizable you should be. And I think that idea of that question of like, you've got an hour is a really great place to start. But in general, if we were to go to general, because I feel like there's the general stuff that probably the core that everybody should do. And I just said the should. I would like you all to do. And then there's the stuff that's more personalized around the edges. What's the core? And if it were you, how would you approach it?
Yeah, some of the basic core estate planning stuff that everyone really must do. Let's just go straight to must, critical must do's, because there's laws in the world. So if or when something happens and your partner, your spouse, your parent, a sibling dies or needs your help because they are in, a medical situation, there's like a red tape gulag obstacle course that must get gotten through for you to access your money or sign a form or have someone tell you something. And so when it comes to estate planning, the core documents really are a will, which is who gets your stuff or your cat or guardian of your kids, and who manages that, the executor, who's like the project manage of all your life, archiving your whole life. That's a really important document, and everybody should have one, needs to have one, because if you
Must
don't
have one.
must, everyone must have a will, because when you die and you don't have a will as one of your core estate planning documents done, the state decides who gets your stuff. And if there's a small chance that you don't agree with every rule or law that your state currently has about your life, chances might be you don't want them to decide what happens when and how after you're gone, when everyone around you is far more powerless and vulnerable and upset. So
Yeah.
a will document is often kind of where people start, because you're thinking about who's going to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for your kid if you're not around? Who is going to take that half feral cat that you wish maybe you didn't rescue? Who is going to go through all your stuff and figure out what to do with it? Who's going to visit every single bank and or online account, of which most people have over 100 different accounts? Contact them, send them the paperwork, which is your death certificate and the will document and the letters from the court that says, yes, you're the person who gets to organize it, and spend on average somewhere between 100 to 250 hours over the course of a year or two winding down your estate for you. It's a really big job. And if you don't pick the right person, or if you don't hire the right person, like if I didn't have a will right now, my 21-year-old son would be the default executor of my will. That's not what I want for him.
I sometimes get confused on the directive parts and like who should have that stuff. And I feel like I did one like 800 years ago, but like sent it to some doctor that I think she's retired and haven't seen her in 6 or 7. So it's like, talk to us about that kind of stuff, because Mary and I have both said pretty clearly, like, we don't want to be vegetables. But now I'm like, where is that paperwork? And my current doctor, should they have that? Like all of that business.
Yeah, so the will is often a starting point. And in that little packet of documents usually is your advanced care directive or living will, which is the kind of care you do or don't want when you are near death, actively dying in hospice, those weeks or months before, let's say you're managing an illness. And you name somebody on that to be your kind of primary, somebody who's going to manage your directives, right? Your proxy, or whatever each state might actually call it. So you've got your will, you've got your advanced care directive, you have a power of attorney document where you name somebody to manage your stuff for you, usually while you're still alive. So let's say you have COVID and you're intubated for a few weeks. You're not writing checks for your rent that week. So somebody can manage your stuff for you. And so I love to always have a backup. So I have the original documents. Estate planning documents is still very old school in a lot of ways, very old world, right? Think like puffy powdered wigs, right? Like, and fancy collars. So in many states, but not all, you're still required legally to sign them in person in real life. You can buy a house and sign everything online or electronically, but estate planning documents, that's not always the case. So I have my original paper folder in my When I Die folder. It's called All Good Things Must Come to an End. Or like the Star Trek nerd thing, All Good Things. It's just called All Good Things. And so I hope people get it. Or these are the droids you're looking for. How about that? That would even be better. So I have the originals. I personally have them in a mostly fireproof bag, like a little courier bag that I can take with me when the alien ship comes down. I have photocopies that 3 or 4 of the people who have been named, people who play important roles. So my friend Erin is my medical proxy. She's the one who's going to speak for me if or when. And so with her, I'm like, don't turn the machines off right away. Like, give me a minute, but mostly let's go. So 3 or 4 people have a photocopy. So if or when they need to pull it out, they have it at the ready. They also have a link to an online vault, which is password protected, but it's not like the most Fort Knoxy kind of online vault anywhere.
Oh, like
because
Smart Vault? Like that's what my accountant uses where they send you your taxes, that kind of joint?
Yeah, so there's like password managers like 1Password and other
Mm-hmm.
versions that you can pay a little bit more and have a family membership and upload documents and have an online vault. So
Oh, I
there's
didn't know that. That's great.
yeah, there's free versions like Dropbox, right? You can have a
Mm-hmm.
Dropbox or a Google
That's smart
folder
too.
with your electronic versions, and you can just make the documents or the link password protected, or their email has to be allowed to get in. So when it comes to privacy, that's a big question. But my will document and it has names and it has addresses and it has who gets what. So when it comes to all of the like digital breaches and PII and data, everything, I would feel far more comfortable taking a printout of my will and throwing it on the sidewalk in front of my house. Like far less actual like personal data that is there, but it's
Yeah.
not critical data. It's like my
Yeah.
friend's phone number. It's not that big of a deal.
The
So
universe already has that.
everybody already has it. Yeah. So for me, it's a balance of, like risk and reward. The risk of going through the work to get some of these plans done, but nobody knowing where they are or being able to find it, that's too risky for me. I'd rather have a
Yeah.
few versions floating around so somebody can find them. And, some people write their annual holiday letter or New Year's letter and like, so and so's doing well in Harvard and the safari trip was wonderful. And me, I'm like, here's those documents again, bitches. Like, here's the link to the folder. Remember, if I die, Merry New Year. And also, here's the link to my will. So they're like, oh, the holiday letters come again. It's Chanel. And I'm like, this has been updated. Right.
Like they
So,
see your email like on December 24th. They're like,
yeah,
I'm going
they're
to
like,
just wait
oh,
until the
God.
top of the year for this one.
Yeah, they just wanted like the top 100 like paint colors of the year. But I'm like, no, here's my trust. Yeah. Um, and so they'll expect it. And one year I did not maybe have my shit 100% together and I hadn't written that annual email. And like 3 people by mid-January are like, hey, where's the thing? I need to, where's the thing? Because when you send me your thing, then I know that I have to do my thing.
Right.
So where's your thing? So it really is getting your shit together is kind of a team sport. And it is a bit of a journey. I know we love the word journey now, but
We sure do.
it really is because things change and it's way easier to update a name or an address on a document than it is to start from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's much easier if you and your friends or your sibling is coming up with a plan and then you're like, well, what password manager or vault should we use? So I don't know. I use this one for work. Let's use that. Okay, great. It takes the pressure off you for having to be the one to formally
Mm.
bring up the conversation about who gets the china on Thanksgiving because there's enough going on already. And then when you start first, right, it's like telling a secret or an embarrassing story. It's way easier to go after somebody just sang a Journey song at karaoke than it is for you to start with the Journey song at karaoke, right? So when you start getting your stuff together, I think it takes away some of that like the barriers or the pressure or the shame of the fact that you haven't done it already.
Yeah. I sometimes get into my head about like, what if there's 14 copies of my will? Like there's a change I want to make right now. And then I'm just like, oh, I'm like, but everybody's got copies of that one. And then like, who did I give copies of that to? So it's like, do we worry or we don't care because they're dated? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think having 3 copies of a will and looking at the cover page to see which one is the most recent, because the other ones become null and void once you do a more current version. That's a problem that I'd love for people to have. Currently,
Yeah.
over 50% of US adults don't have one. And, 80 or 90% of trusts that people create go unfunded, which often means that if there's nothing in the trust doesn't own it. And then everything goes through probate.
Yeah.
So,
You wasted a whole lot of money.
you wasted time, you wasted money. And then also like you felt reassurance that wasn't actually true.
Real.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So the ground was hollow that you built to stand on. And so your family lists also like, oh, great, let's go find the trust that I got a link to the trust. And then it's like, oopsie, it's not done yet. So that would also really suck. So changing or updating a will document is usually much, much easier than starting from scratch, right? We do all have to update our documents every handful of years anyway, right? Because
You do?
we,
Oh
well,
my
we
God.
should. Well, I like to say that every election cycle, at least, you should pull it out, dust it off, and take a look at it because
Oh,
you
that's
have
a
another
great marker.
that works for me because everyone's like 2 to 4 years. And I'm like, let's just say every election cycle. Let's just go
Yeah.
with things that I can remember. Because you move to a new address, you move to a new state,
Right.
you get married, you get divorced, you get remarried, your kids turn 18, you have another kid, you get a rescue llama ranch, your assets changed, you inherited assets from somebody else, right? Like you used to have no money and then a year ago, your aunt died and left you the brownstone in Park Slope. And you're like, oh shit, I got to lawyer up. So, like, things really change. So, you should make sure that the documents keep working as hard as they can for you.
Yeah.
And if you have let's say an online vault or your paid password protector vault or a Google folder or whatever it might be, you can just put the new document in it, delete the old one, or just put it in old files, whatever that might be. If you
That's a
do
great
work,
idea.
yeah. So I think updating things is great, and nearly any will document, especially one done well by an attorney or any of the online templates, it needs to be appropriate for your state. So don't copy your sister's will who lives in a different state because it might not be legally binding in yours. It's not legally required for you to have it notarized for it to be legally binding. For those documents to be legally binding, you need to sign it in front of two witnesses, IRL, and then they need to sign that they saw you sign it, right?
Yeah.
And they should be adults, then they should not have any skin in the game, right? Like just neutral adults.
Yeah.
That means it's legally binding. Having it notarized is important. It can be helpful. It can make it like self-proving, but it's not required for it to be legally binding. So if that's the thing that's holding you up, you can get a mobile notary to come to your house or coffee shop down the street from you and have the barista and your dog walker, witness the
Yeah.
will
My
signing. So
friend's
it's
mom just used their gardener.
perfect.
It's like their
Yeah,
lawn guy. Yeah.
it's anybody. What I did too is I love to have backup proof. So, have a picture of you with your will document and your two witnesses next to you.
Oh.
And get a picture of their IDs and then put those in the folder with you. So it could be, more self-proving in case anyone's like, Chanel was drugged. There's no way she'd give all of her money
Look at
to.
her pupils. Like,
She was, under duress or
yeah.
not of sound mind would be the legal phrase. And it can be like, nah, she's, looking pretty slamming in that
Yeah.
miniskirt and next to the gardener and the barista. Things look pretty good. Yeah.
You still need the physical copy of it though, right? It's like I could put it in my Dropbox, but is that good enough? Like what if we can't find the physical paper? Is that
A PDF of a will, electronic version of a will, is submissible to court. So this is all about what can you prove, right? So
yeah.
these documents are created so you can prove to a judge or a bank or somebody that these are your wishes and this is the person who's supposed to be doing it. And the person says, yep, I'm the person. And then the judge or the bank says, yes, you're the beneficiary named on this transfer on death deed of a home or this bank account or this life insurance policy or this will. And so having it notarized, you can do that. It's a great idea. You could submit an electronic version of a will if you're still looking for the original to a court. Having the original is important. Everybody would recommend that you keep the original, like me in my rapture proof box.
Yeah.
But if for some reason rapture proof box goes into a sinkhole and is gone forever, there are paper backups and there's the electronic backup. So definitely keep the originals. If you work with an attorney to draft any of these, often the attorney will suggest or offer to hold those original documents for you. That's great. Make sure you ask the attorney, like, how long are you going to be practicing? Who's going to take over your practice if you retire? So you don't end up 10 years down the road. Someone's like, well, this attorney who's now disappeared and we don't know where they are, right? So just make sure that you will always have access to any of those documents or plans, a list of who gets your favorite sweater, where your accounts are, right? Because one of the things that I found was so crazy making when my late husband died. It took years really to do all of the paperwork, to roll over the thing and find the other thing and get my cell phone turned back on because it was under his name. And
Jesus.
where was that stock that he got when he was working for that startup? What was that startup called? Like, where are all the accounts? Where are the things that he was responsible for? And a dozen or so years ago, we all had, let's say, dozens of online accounts, but our lives have migrated so much more to everything being online. There are 100 things to remember. I can't remember my own passwords to all of my own accounts, much less somebody else's. So that transfer of knowledge plan, whether it's, my mom's accounts or who's going to be a digital power of attorney for me, who is named to my Google Inactive Password Manager. Like, if anybody has any kind of Google accounts, and many people do, Google Drive, Gmail, whatever it is, there's something that's totally for free. It's baked into their product. You go to Google Inactive Account Manager page. It's the sexiest title in the world, but it's
But it gets the job done, I'll tell you what.
It's explanatory. And you can elect for somebody to get access to all of your stuff, which could be life-saving in a lot of ways. Because if I don't have a copy of something in my, all good things box, I got an email about it at some point. And I have a mess of folders, also called important, to file. But that is a really great backup plan for me because they can search for a receipt or an invoice or go into like my tax filing from 5 years ago if they need to. So those estate planning documents can really, 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 really help free up all the worry and wonder and questions and assets. Like, everything could get locked up for a year and you're like, I'm just trying to pay for babysitting. Why is like all of our accounts are gone, or we didn't transfer that one? And so that can be really important. And then, the little things are the big things, right? Like, where were the photos of that one trip we took to Mexico? What about, 200,000 airline points that you kind of want to find or get back? Did my late husband, Jose, buy Bitcoin? That would be good to know if he had back in the day. So sometimes it's the little things that are the big things. And that is the stuff that made me kind of want to go hide under the bed with a bottle of anything those first few months, because I just didn't have the brain energy or any energy at all to be critically thinking about much less where's all this stuff. And so that's the part that a lot of us forget. That's the part that I think an attorney maybe isn't going to go over with you. That's the part of getting your shit together that isn't in a will document. It's like knowing that somebody wanted to be recomposed instead of cremated, because you don't want to find out that, like, some decisions you can't undo.
That's definitely one you cannot. That's definitely one you cannot.
Oops.
Oh my God.
Well, I guess, we buried them, but
it's they'll never know.
Oops. Yeah. So I, for a number of years, was the best insured parent person in Washington State. I'm sure of it. And at some point, my son was really tired of me being like, okay, like on Mother's Day, we'd go for a walk. And I'm like, okay, so if I die, He's like, I know. God, if you die, there's a life insurance policy and I'm going to go live with grandma and I can take the cat. And I'm like, okay, my job is done here. So, it's important to talk about. And so doing it while the stakes are low is a way easier to start having those conversations. So you don't have to figure everything out while the stakes are really high and everybody isn't probably at their best.
Yeah.
I just think this is so helpful because, yes, I have been trying to have these conversations with my parents, but it is more like I haven't really looked at it on like a minute scale. Like it's more so like, how do you want your end of life to be? As in like, is there a DNR? And then how do you want to be like buried, cremated, whatever? Do you care? And then it's like, is there a will? And like, is everyone going to be okay with it? Like, I would like you to talk to the people that are part of the will before you die, because I don't want to have to do that. And I want to like get along with my siblings, ideally, after my parents die. So that's the conversation I've had, but I've never had the conversation being like, where are your bank accounts?
Right.
I guess in my head, those were in the will. But it's very likely that they might not be. And like, I know where my mom keeps my mom is so Italian. She's like, this is where the cash is hiding under the mattress. And this is where the jewels are buried in the yard, So I know that stuff, but it's like passwords to things, that kind of annoying stuff that like, I really have not thought about at all.
Yeah.
That is true that is like going to be a headache.
It could be a headache. So, the same way with like, let's do the 1 hours until the alien ships land exercise, which I find is a low bar. It's like, I can do that. Let's put on some music and dance around and get the wedding photos and the bars of gold that are hiding in your mother's mattress. Ask her where those are, for sure. Well, one thing I think is starting with the important things, right? Like if somebody has a health issue that you're managing, you want to know where their bank accounts are, but also the prescriptions they're taking and who their doctors are. Like that would be reassuring to me. I also think that when it comes to aging parents in particular, everyone wants to start the conversation with like cleaning out the basement or the garage.
They always want to clean out the attic. They do.
I know. What are we going to do with the garage? Oh, we have to start with the garage. No, not the National Geographics from the 70s, right? Like if I had $1, I could have flown to this interview in one of my helicopters that matched my outfits. Like that conversation starts there. But it's like a first date. When you go on a first date, you don't like start with like, well, maybe you do. Like, so are you top and how many kids do you want to have, right? Like you just want to ease yourself in a little bit to the conversation. Like, tell me about, what food you like to make or what your favorite movie is. So when it comes to end of life planning, like what would be the most important thing that doesn't get forgotten? Will you show me where it is? Like, and then that can be the doorway to having a larger conversation. If somebody is just uncomfortable or, it takes practice, it's a new skill. We don't have a shared language about in a lot of ways.
That's a really, really good point. Because I mean, I'll admit it, and I'm sure our listeners might be feeling this way too. Like I feel overwhelmed right now, but many things that you have said have made it be like, oh, I could do that. Oh, I could do that. Oh, I didn't think about putting it in a Dropbox. Oh, I could do that. It's like hearing that it feels better than just like sitting in the overwhelm because it's a lot. But it seems like it's going to be a lot either way, so we should be talking about it.
It could be a lot either way. So I like to, like, what was the line in the Ghostbusters movie? Pick your destroyer, right? Stay Puft Marshmallow guy, right?
Yeah.
So pick your destroyer. Would you rather do it now while having some tea and listening to like the best of ABBA? Or would you rather do it while you're like managing cancer or trying to manage your house and your job and your parents' health issue at the same time? Or if you like look forward to your future self, does my future self want to do with this right now? Of course not. My future self wants to go watch the new, Witcher series or whatever. But does my future self want to be so overwhelmed and worry about this or that? Like, do I want to be crawling by my fingernails figuring something out, or put somebody else through, on average, 200 hours of finding things and talking to banks. Like, wouldn't it be great to take those, a year or more, and hundreds of where is this? How do I find it? How do I not lose it? And move that down to a few dozen. So
Yeah.
one thing that I remember, and it was like the fascinating, not a bookend, but when my late husband died, it was an absolute shit show, right? Emotional stuff was everywhere. There's still things I don't find. There's the Bitcoin. I don't know. We had an argument about him buying it once, and I don't know what happened.
Oh, I bet that keeps you up.
It did for a while.
Sorry, that's not helpful. Sorry.
Well, what we focus on, you're like,
it's going to keep Robin
up
for the next month. I can tell you that.
No, I know. No, it's true. And we can focus on the wealth we have in other ways. That's,
yes.
But when my late husband died, I had half the information. I didn't have the other half. It was nearly impossible. I'm sure there's still stuff that's lost, right? Things that just didn't get taken care of. When my father died, different time, different circumstances, different person. Everything about it was different. And what I'll say is there was a 1-page spreadsheet with like the top 15 or 16 things, bank accounts, mortgages. I was a backup signer on things. We knew where the documents were. I had a whole folder in my phone that was just pictures of business cards of his doctors and his documents. And so when he died, I had no idea what the loss of a parent, a loving, lovely parent would feel like. And it was profound. And the difference between working slowly, incrementally with my parents to get our shit together. But I'm a, reasonably resilient person. And there were moments I didn't know if I was going to make it through the other side. Yeah. And I would like for everybody to have the least amount of shit to deal with and the most amount of casseroles and the fewest numbers of spreadsheets to look at. So you can spend time being in the room and taking care of yourself and less time trying to figure out where your money's at or if someone's going to come take your house. So that's what all of this stuff is about. That was a moment for me where I'm like, my mom doesn't have to deal with like hardly any of the stuff that I had to. And we could go for a walk and make an old fashioned. And that was a lot better than crying through boxes.
That is lovely. That's the most, I think, perfect way for us to end the conversation because it is what it's all about and why we have to do it, why we got to get our shit together.
How to do it.
Will you tell everyone where they can find all of your stuff so that they can start to get their shit together?
Absolutely. A great place to start is just go to my website. It's called getyourshittogether.org, and you can find information about my book, and there's free templates. You can reach out. I do classes and workshops and other things. That's a great place to start. So I'm rooting for you, everyone.
Wow. So much to think about, to plan, to move toward. But I think, and I feel pretty strongly about this, ripping the Band-Aid off and talking is the most important part. And speaking of talking, we are not done. Next week, we've got Byron from Scrivener, and he's got a lot to say too. Take a listen to this clip from next week's episode.
The normal cost of probate to start a case can be up to $10,000. 92% of U.S. adults don't have $10,000 at the ready. So you call the bank, you call the financial advisor, you're like, yo, mom died, I need help. I know she had $50,000, can we use some of that for the funeral? And then you're going to hear, sorry, we can't help you. You don't have authority to access the account.
You can't just focus on the spreadsheet side of things as much as I would love to. You got to talk about the money too. And Byron is just the man to do it. So make sure you're subscribing, you're following to Well Adjusting so that you don't miss the last part of this amazing series. And hey, while you're at it, go ahead and leave us a comment or a thought too on Spotify or Apple Podcasts if you're loving this chat. We would love to hear from you. We got this really cool note from a listener when we initially aired the Jorge episode. Jax Ferres, hopefully I said that right, gave us 5 stars and said, "Just had a mega shred, store, and streamlining of documents after your superb podcast regarding aging." Now that is what we like to hear, folks. Oh, and hey, folks, before you leave, I want to thank Chanel so much for bringing all her life experience and her learned wisdom here with us today. Head to getyourshittogether.org for more Chanel wisdom. That's going to be in the show notes too, folks. For more Robin, and you may need that, you probably don't need it, but if you do, you can follow me at Real Rob Hops on all the platforms, all the socials, as the kids today say. Well Adjusting is an Edit Audio original series. It's exec produced by Steph Colburn and Robin Hopkins. Our producer and editor is Maria Passingham, and our production manager is Kathleen Speckert. Thank you to the entire Edit Audio team and to you for listening. Oh, hey, before you take out those AirPods, this show is just for entertainment. If you are in need of help, please, please, please reach out to a professional. Go ahead and get that help. You deserve it.